you on the show. I'm so excited to talk about your book.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's going to be great. So let's just jump right into this. What is the title of your book and what is it about?
Well, the title of the book, as you see right here, is One Wants to Be a Letter. And basically, it's pretty self explanatory. The number one, is the main character, and he wants to be like all of his friends who are mostly letters. But in the end of the story, he realizes that it's okay to be a number and that it's okay to be unique and different. He doesn't have to be exactly like all of his friends, and that he can really be himself.
So, how did you come up with this idea? You're young. First off, how did you come up with the idea for the book? But how did you even think, like, okay, I'm going to make a children's book and I'm going to get it published and that type of thing? How did that all go about?
Well, I had actually come up with the idea for this book when I was 4 years old. I was really creative when I was younger, and I had a lot of different ideas for like movies and books that I wanted to make. And they were always sort of like based off of like other things that I had seen, and they were usually pretty similar to that. So then one day, right, I was four, so I came down to my dad and I said, "Hey, I got this idea for a book. It's called One Wants to Be a Letter." And my dad was like kind of shocked because he was like, "Oh, I've never really heard of that one. What's that one about?" And then I explained it to him, and my dad like really loved the concept, and he was like, "Yeah, like let's start writing that." So I was a kid. I really wasn't really interested in writing the whole thing. It was mostly my dad that had written the words, but I had, you know, had all the ideas because it's hard for a 4 year old to, write that type of stuff. So it was really my dad. I told him the ideas and he would write them down and we'd get ideas for it. It was pretty fun, but we really didn't know how to publish a book back then. I mean, this was like 2007. So we were like, how do we do this? And dad had like bought like this huge book on publishing, but he was never going to read that whole thing because it was a pretty long book. So it was just on the back burner for a while. For a while, it was just like, oh yeah, wouldn't that be cool if like that was actually a thing that happens? And now it's a thing that happened.
I love that. That wouldn't that be cool if that was a thing that happened and now it happened. So I'm gonna jump around here and so did you self-publish the book or did you get a publisher for it?
Yeah, well, so I did self-publish it, but I had someone help with formatting of it. And I think it goes to show that even if you are self-publishing, you can still tell really great stories. And I'm in a group of people that are self-published authors.
So who did the illustration part of the book? And then
Um,
you wrote the words, right? So who did the
Yeah, it was our illustrator Gregor Bernard who did this, who really did a fantastic job. I mean, it was really collaborative between us two. Like there were originally humans in the book, and I was like, no, we can't have humans in there because this is a book of numbers and letters. And then he was like, all right, then let's change that. So it was pretty collaborative. I sort of told him what I want, and he brought it to the page. Also, for some reason, I wanted one to be yellow specifically and have a red hat. I just always knew that he would have that for some reason since I was four. So I told him to make sure that that was how one looked, and there it was.
Well, I'm curious about how long it took for you once you became an adult to then make the book. You were at what point were you like, okay, it's this is the time we want to release this, and how did you find your illustrator, and how long did it take for you once you had the illustrator to go back and forth and kind of put the book together?
So a guy who writes really small books, like it's basically like a father would ask him to write a book for his kid. So he was a really small sort of publisher, I guess you could say, and he reached out to us, and he had said he wanted me to be a part of a book about inspirational disabled people, which, as you can probably see, I'm currently sitting in a wheelchair right now because I have something called Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Um, and so he wanted me to, because I'm a real patient advocate, I'd say. I've been in a lot of interviews talking about Duchenne, and he had really seen that. And he had said, we want you to be in this book about inspirational disabled people, as he called it. And there were a bunch of others in there too. And we on the call with him when we were talking about it, we actually told him about the idea for One Wants to Be a Letter because we figured, why not? I mean, we have a bit of a publisher here with us, so why don't we tell him about the story? And he really loved the idea, so he's like, yeah, I'll definitely help the format this book, and that's pretty much how it came to be. It was always like again, it was always like, wouldn't that be really cool if that was a thing that actually happened? And then we finally had like some kind of, this publishing guy come to us, and we were like, all right, why don't we tell him about it? I mean, this is a good way to maybe see if we can actually make this a thing.
So, what would you like people or readers to take away from when reading the book? What messages? What ideas?
Yeah, I think the main thing I want them to take away from this is that it's okay to be yourself. Because I so many times have I seen someone and been like, this person is so much better than me, so much cooler than me, so much smarter than me. I want to be just like them. Um, but then we realize that we are all those things, just not in the way that another person is. Because maybe some person is book smart, maybe we're street smart. I think the world would be really boring if all of us were the exact same person. So I want people to take away that it's okay to be unique. It's okay to be yourself. I mean, just like me. I mean, I'm sitting in a wheelchair right now. Most people are able, and I'm disabled. But I find that it's okay to be that. You know.
No, I love that. I agree with you. If we were all the same, how fun would that be?
Right.
I guess I relate to this book a lot because I feel like I've always been like a one in the world of letters. So I kind of understand that. And I think it's important to teach kids that it's and adults too, that it's okay to kind of be yourself and not necessarily force yourself to be a certain way to fit in with other people. I think it's okay to be unique.
Right. I
So
mean, I had seen some other like I remember in eighth grade year, like there was a kid who I thought was like so smart and had glasses on, so I decided to like dress the way he did and wear glasses. It was really stupid, but I came to realize that it's okay to not be exactly like that.
no, I think that's a good lesson. Do you have any other? I'm just now thinking because you have so many ideas. Do you have any other books that you're currently working on, or is this like the only book that you think you're gonna put out?
Yeah, I definitely have some ideas for other books that I want to start writing. I just haven't gotten to that yet, but I definitely do want to write more books.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the book itself, but now I want to talk about you. So, what is your story? Where are you from? And I guess, how did you end up where you are now?
Well, my story's currently still being written, as all of us are. I just graduated high school, and I'm going to be going to college soon. And I'm from Hudson, Massachusetts, and now I'm going to be moving to Norton, Massachusetts for next 4 years for college, which I'm pretty excited. I call it nerve sighted. I'm pretty excited and nervous about it at the same time. Um, and I'm just really excited for the next chapter in my life. And I think how I got here now is I think just maturity. I think that happens when all of us get older. We learn more, we grow more, and I think that most people, that's really how we get to where we currently are. Like I used to be super anxious when I was younger. I would get stressed about the little things, and now I've gotten a lot better about that. I mean, I still get anxious, but not as bad as I used to. And it's maturity, I think, that caused that.
Yeah, so now I'm also wondering because you've definitely matured over. I've known you for I don't know how many years now, long time, probably 5 years. I would say that seems like about right. And you've definitely matured over that time. Do you think that part of that was COVID too, that you were forced to like look at it all differently? I don't know.
Honestly, I've been wondering that. Like, I sort of first wondered that during quarantine. I was sort of like, is it like maybe a good thing to be like maybe isolated from everyone else for a while to really take a step back and evaluate ourselves and be like, how am I going to act when I see people again? Like, am I going to act differently? I think it was a good reflection period for all of us because we really didn't have much to do, which causes our thinking mind to take over. Um, and I'm betting a lot of us were sort of reflecting on ourselves during that time.
So, do you think did quarantine and COVID did that kind of give you an opportunity to kind of work on the book? Like, do you think that you would have ever you probably would have published the book, I don't know, later on, but do you think
Yeah.
because of all that happened that you had the opportunity to focus on it then?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so because we were desperately trying to find things to do. I mean, like I think most people were cooking things or stuff like that during that time, um, and so I guess, but it didn't really come to our minds that we really wanted to have it published until that guy had reached out to us, which I think was during quarantine. It might have been a little bit before, um, but I think it was just a good message to bring out during that time of like uncertainty and all that. And I think it was just time at that point. I think I just known it was gonna come out in 2020 because I think it just needed that.
No, no, this was a good light in the. It was a good light in a dark year. Was this book? I
Right.
think it was a good thing that I think a lot of kids and adults needed too. So moving on from that, why did you want to be a writer? Has it always been something that's been in you, or?
When I was young, I used to be really creative. In fact, I would always take papers with me when I went out to restaurants, so I would write certain things or like draw things. I'd always run out of paper, so then we decided to take a whiteboard to all the restaurants I was in instead, and I would just draw things, erase them, and draw a bunch of other things. I was very creative at that time, and I think writing is a good way to get across to convey certain things, to get across good messages that'll resonate with people, to show likable characters. I think writing is a very good format to convey certain things to the world or teach them or however people want to use it. I think it's a great tool for that. And I think it's a great way for me to channel my creativity that I had at that age and I still have.
So building on that, what is your goal as a writer currently, and what milestone or milestones would you like to reach with your writing?
I think I want to write books that people will look at and say, wow, this is different than anything I've really seen. Because we've all seen movies where like there's like the typical cliches in them. And we're like, oh yeah, that's been done a bunch of times before, but it's not really doing anything new with it. But I want people to look at it and be like, you know what? I have not seen that. That's actually a really creative way of telling this type of story. Because I mean, telling a story about being yourself isn't really much new in the storytelling world. But I think the way I did it was different than most other people might have, because I think using numbers and letters is an interesting way of showing kids and showing it to kids because like they are probably familiar with numbers and letters because they're learning about all of it in school. And they're like, oh, this number is different than the letters, and he wants to be like them. Oh, I understand the message now. So it's all about using an analogy that kids will get to convey a message to them.
Additionally, how do you see your writing continuing into the future, I guess? So you said movies, books. Do you think you're going to be a lifelong, basically what I'm trying to say is, do you think you're going to be a lifelong writer? Do you think that this is something that's going to continue on forever? Or do you think it's just a hobby? Like, do you want it to be your career, or do you think it's just something that you're going to do on the side?
I think so. I think I really do love writing, and that's something that I want to pursue. What I'm writing for, I'm not exactly sure yet. Whether it's, I'd love to make a cartoon show. I'd love to write more books. I'd love to do a bunch of different things to tell stories. But yeah, I think that's going to be a main focus of my career.
So this has to do with the book itself. Fun. I always like to throw in a fun question. What is your favorite number and why?
What is my favorite number? I have to say number one, just because we all love having that satisfaction of coming in first place every once in a while. It doesn't always happen. You win some, you lose some, as they say. But we always love coming in first place, I think, and being number one. And I think we always love that satisfaction. And I think one himself was never really felt like he was number one at a lot of the times until there's a race at the end of the book that he signs up for. And that's when he realizes, because all the other letters are toppling over when they're racing, because they're like all shaped like the letter T probably tangles up with the letter O and all that, and there's just a bunch of chaos going on. But since one is built very straight and narrow, he actually wins the race. And so it feels like, yeah, I really do have my own strengths that I should celebrate. And I won the race because of that. And so I think he at that point in the story, he really feels like he really accomplished something, you know? And I feel like that is a satisfaction that we all love.
Winning is good. I can attest to that, being number one. I do like number one a lot.
Yeah. And sometimes it's okay not to, but we all love having that, you know?
No, we do all love being number one sometimes. Not in everything, because that would get overwhelming, but sometimes it's good to win something every once in a while. So, is there anything else specifically that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really glad that this book is resonating, excuse me, with a lot of people. Because I've heard a lot of kids say that they really love the book. You know, it's their favorite one, and it like sort of is teaching them how to read and count, and you know, because it has numbers and letters in it. So not only is it sort of bringing across a message about being yourself, but also is kind of teaching them about certain numbers by giving them funny faces and all that. I'm just glad it resonates with kids, and that's what I really want to accomplish with a lot of my stories, is just make something that resonates with people.
I think that's a good goal as a storyteller, is just to have people feel something, because I think sometimes we get lost in the glitz and glamour of stories. So maybe sometimes it's good to just pull it back and just focus on just emotionally moving somebody. I think that's really the point.
Right?
Do you have any social media that you'd like to plug? You know, either your charity or yourself, either or.
Yeah, well, I have a Facebook. It's my personal one is just Jake Marrazzo, and then my author one, when I post about all my book stuff, is Jake Marrazzo -author, and I also have an Instagram account as well. That's, I believe, Jake Marrazzo _author. So yeah, and then JakeMarrazzo.com is a place where you can order the books, and we will ship that to you. And it's also on Amazon and in several bookstores local.
Oh, what bookstores are you in if people want to go pick it up?
Word on the Street store, I believe, is in Marlboro. And then I have one at Owen and Sage, which I believe is in Hudson Main Street. So we have a bunch of local bookstores that we're in Massachusetts.
Well, thank you so much, Jake. You don't have anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I think I'm good. This is awesome.
Thank you guys for watching this episode of Book Talk. It's been a pleasure working with you, Jake, today, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye, guys. You're
Bye.
number one.